So everyone, I'm Immigration Lawyer. I'm going to go do our regular live, taking your questions on TikTok, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on everywhere on the internet, except for Instagram. I'm not doing that one live, but just shoot out there. The immigration situation is not good. I mean, there's stuff you're hearing at the border, which is horrible stories. We're not going to get into that here. It's more just active cases and giving general educational advice. But the situation has got horrendous when it comes to timelines and delays and non-movement. Now, the cases are moving. This week, I had a lot of marriage, green card interviews. I was actually going to the USCIS field office and doing these interviews, and that was happening. But embassies are not happening. Other cases are being delayed drastically. So this is all stuff that we're going to have to deal with, and we're going to talk about right now. Let's do it. Now, Jordan asks, does my USA spouse have to be working to sponsor my green card? Well, as I talked about earlier, there is an affidavit of support requirement. And part of that requirement is that you have a U.S. sponsor that could, support you financially. Now, your wife traditionally would be the sponsor, the U.S. petitioner, but if she doesn't work, if she's not making money, you can use assets potentially, like money you have saved up for property, or more likely you bring in a joint sponsor. It's another person that's a green card holder or a U.S. citizen that says, I'll financially support you if needed, and submit Form I-864 affidavit support as a joint sponsor to cover that situation. So it's really important for you to get that if your wife doesn't make enough money, because they won't approve it if she's not working or doesn't have, or you both, either of you don't have a lot of savings to be able to satisfy that requirement. Fatima asks, can we apply for H-1 from 2 different employers? Well, they said that in the new H-1B registration session, I assume you mean H-1B, that you can't do two different employers. Generally, you can have 2 H-1Bs from 2 different employers, but the registration system, they said, is only for one. One of my colleagues handles H-1B cases, not something I do on a regular basis. And so if you want to set a consultation to discuss that further with the employer, then you could connect with my colleague, just email me. But one thing important to note is the employer is the person paying and filing for the case, and they would have their lawyers who can answer this question. So you can have 2 H-1Bs, working part-time at 2, rarely done. But for the registration system, they said if you're doing duplicates, they may check out both. So I would be careful, but talk with your employer's immigration lawyer. H-1B is not something I do. My colleague handles those. That girl asked, hello, if they send us a notice about adding an I-944, but we are now seeing it's not required, what should we do? Well, the rule is you don't have to do anything. But what I've been doing in those kind of cases is I've been responding to the request for evidence, which is including a copy of the request for evidence, mailing it to location, but also a printout of the website page on uscis.gov that says the I-944 declaration of self-sufficiency for the public charge is not required. So at least goes in the system, because it's not unheard of for USCIS to mistakenly deny a case, even though they're not supposed to. So the safe thing as an attorney, what I would do, and I'm doing for my case, is notifying them that, hey, here's the RFE. Please remember, don't mistakenly deny this case. We're not required to submit this I-944. So that's something we would do, but be careful. Read the request for evidence notice, the RFE notice that they sent you for that, and make sure they didn't ask for other stuff. They may have said submit Form I-944, which is not required, so you technically don't have to respond. But then they may have added, hey, you didn't send your right birth certificate, or missing a marriage certificate, or something like that. You don't want to miss the other part. So make sure you read the whole thing and you're not missing something in particular that could be problematic. A user blank says, hi, sir, I was arrested in 2020, domestic violence. Is it affecting my citizenship application? Yeah, it could. But there's a lot that has to be talked about there. So you have to see what the court situation is, if you're guilty or innocent, if you're convicted, what the facts of it were. But it can affect your it could even affect your green card. If it's really serious, you get your green card taken away. So you really need to contact an immigration attorney and talk to them in private, see the records, don't plead to anything yet before talking to both the criminal attorney and an immigration attorney. It's a very, very, very serious situation that you're in. That girl follows up, when they ask if we are exempt from public charge of inadmissibility, what do they mean? So for Form I-864, there are certain exemptions. There are certain people that, although everyone else in that category of family-based cases has to submit Form I-864, they don't, and those are exempt. That's typically a person who's worked in the United States for 40 quarters. So what is that, like 8 years of working in the U.S. and getting paying for Social Security, all that kind of stuff. There are people who are like children of U.S. citizens who don't automatically get citizenship, who have to apply for a green card first, and upon entering the United States, automatically U.S. citizenship. Those are exempt from the I-64 as well. Asylees and people on certain humanitarian cases are exempt from the Form I-864 as well. So that's what they mean by being exempt from the public charge rule of admissibility for those categories, specifically on the I-485 adjustment of status application. A human being. Now, everyone's subject to public charge except asylees. So, but what I was discussing are exemptions to the Form I-864. But you could still be subject to public charge in the other categories, but it does exempt you from Form I-864 if you're other than the asylee category, the other versions I mentioned. Letitia asks, my husband recently was denied his visa because he believed he'd be a public charge in Nigeria. I make over the amount for 3 people now. I do not know what he can do. Do we have to start over again? Well, the embassy would give you a letter if they denied your case for public charge. And typically they'll come back and say, you have one opportunity, you have an opportunity to get more paperwork or what the deficiency was and do it again. So I'd have to see what the embassy said in your case in that letter that they gave your husband after his interview, and may be able to get a joint sponsor or other ways to show income. But if they full on deny the case, then yeah, you'll need to resubmit. But I would need to see the actual paperwork in a case to see what happened. Sriracha asks, hi, I'm happy to announce I passed my naturalization interview and attended my oath ceremony last week. God bless you. Thank you. And you say, thank you for all your help and answers. Helps a lot. Is there a way to get the U.S. passport faster if we have to travel? Well, Sriracha, congratulations on becoming U.S. citizen. Thank you for the kind words. If you can, type in JQK Law Firm and leave a review from my law firm if I was helpful. I really appreciate that. Can you get the passport faster? One is the passport office in the United States is super backed up. So typically no. But you contact your local passport office, you show that you have travel plan, and you ask them, and it's in their discretion to give an expedite there. So it just really depends on what evidence you have of the need for you to travel and the luck you have which officer is going to listen to you and want to do it or not. So you got to go online, find the local passport office, not the post office that does it typically, but the U.S. Fed is usually in a federal building that's closest to you. And call them up or go in person and see if they'll grant you an expedited one. If not, it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. Make sure to do the paperwork right. That could be a problem. Sometimes cause delays. Ambrose says, hi, John. Would you qualify as a joint sponsor for this affidavit support? My married U.S. citizen sister filed a petition for me way back in 1995. Our priority date has been current for a couple of years now. Well, there's a couple issues right there. Who would qualify as a joint sponsor? Anyone that wants to become a joint sponsor qualifies as long as they're a U.S. citizen or green card holder and they make enough money. But the issue is if you've been current for a couple of years now, the National Visa Center would have contacted you to say, hey, start your case. And if you didn't respond to that within a year, they did cancel your case. So hopefully you've been following up every year and telling the National Visa Center, hey, we're going to continue the case, just not now, but please keep our case open every year, emailing them or calling them. And so make sure they don't cancel your case and delete it from the system, because if they do, you're going to have to wait 15, 20 years all over again. So hopefully that's not happened. Hopefully you've been on top of it, Ambrose. But affidavit support sponsor, anyone who makes enough money as a U.S. citizen, green card holder, that's the larger picture. But I would need to review their documents and make sure. Like one problem I have with people, they'll have businesses and then business makes a lot of money. But for tax purposes, the way they do it, they personally don't make enough income. But the business keeps the money. It's a tactic for taxes. I don't know if it's correct or not. I'm not an accountant. But then they come to me and say, oh, I make a lot of money. And then I get their tax return and they don't make any money. And now they do make money, but it's a tax tactic. And I tell them, well, we can't use it. So I really need to review the tax returns of the person as joint sponsor, review their background, do all this kind of stuff to be able to tell you. But the basic of it is if they make more than the minimum amount for the family size that's required, and they're U.S. citizen green card holder, it should be possible. Trent asks, can an F4 category apply for a foreign visa, visitor visa? Well, this is a really important question that you hear a lot of conflicting information on. An F4 preference category is a brother and sister of a U.S. citizen, a sibling of a U.S. citizen. That's when you have a U.S. citizen person applying for a green card for their brother or sister. Process could take 10 to 20 years. In the meantime, can that brother or sister get a U.S. tourist visa to come and visit and enter here? Well, the answer is, it's possible. It's in the discretion of the U.S. Embassy or consulate issuing the visa, and at the border inspectors, CBP, Customs Border Protection, that's at the border, whether they'll let you give you the visa or let you in. So it really depends on your background. Their fear is that you're going to come to the United States and not leave and go back to your home country to get the green card later. So if they have that fear, yeah, they could deny you visa or entry. But if, for example, you have work back home investments and a return ticket, all this kind of stuff, they could issue the visa and allow you in. So can they apply for visitor visa? 100% you can apply. Will it be approved? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on your case and what the officer that day at the embassy wants to do. It's all discretionary. There's no it's no science, so it's all discretion, whatever they want to. That girl follows up. How do you know if you should send form I-864 or I-864 Easy? Are they a must? Well, if you're doing a family-based case, typically you have to submit either of those forms. But generally, I-864 is better. I-864 Easy is a shorter, easier version to complete. But most times people submit form I-864, the regular version, not the Easy, the smaller version who has less papers. Use the Easy if your income is like W-2 income, and it's more, the facts of your case are much more simpler. But because it's more rarely submitted, the immigration authorities have less experience with that form. And so I wouldn't risk that. I would just complete the regular I-864. I don't do the I-864 Easy for my clients, even if I can. It's better just to the regular one that they're accustomed to seeing. Peter asked, I married my wife in a matter of 30 days of meeting her, but we've been living together for almost a year now and plan on applying soon. Is the fast marriage a red flag for USCIS? Well, it can be a red flag. USCIS has some internal list of like 10 red flags, and if you have one or two of them, it's not a big deal. But if you have 4, 5, 6, that becomes a big deal. I have filed several cases where people met a week, 2, 3 weeks after getting married, after meeting within a few weeks, and they've been okay. We just have to show the totality of the situation. They do an in-person interview, fill you out, and it is approvable. But it depends on your case, and I have to really see you and make a judgment for myself how shady it looks or how realistic it looks. You know, try to accumulate documents, have joint lease agreements, property ownership, bank accounts, health insurance, life insurance in each other's names. There's all sorts of stuff you could do, but it is a red flag, but not necessarily a gain killer. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get approved. It depends on the whole picture. It's not the worst thing. All right, everybody, we'll be back again next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time for a regular Q&A session. Thank you for everyone joining 5 p.m. Pacific time. On Wednesdays, we do this all the time. Check me out on Instagram, JQK Law Firm. I have reminders there. One of my colleagues, my helpers, he puts some funny images of me to remind you. And if you want to schedule a private consultation, just email me at info@jqqlaw.com, and we can set it up, do a video consultation, see what's going on with your case. Until next time, have a good one. God bless. Be safe. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this educational video. We have a second channel with much more information as well at JQK Immigration Clips. Please check that out. Also, you'll find our social media site has a lot more videos, images, and information about the U.S. immigration process. Please check those out on the various social media websites.